Alright, everybody should have a photo. It was your choice on who you wanted to draw. Alright, so your paper should be at least a 9x6, at least close to it. Alright, we are going to be enlarging this photo to your big drawing paper when we get the drawing paper passed out. But the first thing we're going to do is we are going to grid our paper. Now, these are laser jets, so that means if you erase on your photo, you're going to erase the ink. So, it's always better to get this right before you start drawing a bunch of lines. So whenever we draw, we follow what I call the rule of 3 when we are drawing a straight line. That means you measure it in 3 different spots before you draw your line. Why do you think we measure it in 3 different spots?
To make sure it's the right size.
Make sure it's straight. How many of you guys have cut a piece of wood, say in ag or wood shop or at home? Or cut a piece of paper and you only measure in one spot and you try to cut a line? What's going to happen to that line? It's going to be crooked. It's going to be crooked. It's going to go to the side. It's going to slant. So we're going to start off at the edge of our photo. Now these rulers, okay, these rulers start at this first line. They do not start at the edge. So when you measure, you start from this line. Alright, so I'm going to line up my photo with that first line. And then I am going to be measuring every 1 inch. Because we're doing a 1 inch grid. Let me make sure. You're doing a 1 inch grid on your paper, and then a 1 inch grid on your photo, and a 2 inch grid on your paper. So I'm going to put a mark for every 1 inch on my paper. It's going to start at the edge of my photo, and then it's going to end at the edge of my photo. It's going to go from 1 to 6. I'm doing a dot for every 1 inch. It ends at 6 inches because that's how wide my photos are. And then I'm going to move up about halfway up my picture. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure every 1 inch.
What if I can't see it? I can't see.
You're just going to have to do the best you can. If you can't see the dot, you're just going to have to kind of guesstimate it. That's why we're putting it in 3 different spots so you can line it up. Every 1 inch.
What about when you're going this way?
We're only doing
1 inch up.
We're doing 1 inch across and then 1 inch up, but we haven't done that yet. Shh, guys. And then I'm going to go up to the top of my paper. And again, do every 1 inch. We do it 3 times. And then you're going to line up those 3 dots and draw your line.
Why did I have 1, 2, 3, 4? I did 3. Wait.
You should.
6 dots?
You done 6 dots here, 6 dots here, 6 dots here.
Yeah, okay.
And then you line up those dots and you draw your line. And now you're going to have 1 inch wide strips.
I use a darker pencil to do this?
If you want to use a darker pencil, you can. Just keep in mind that darker pencils are harder to erase. The reason we're measuring in 3 different spots and lining up those dots is so that way our lines are straight. We line up our dots with our ruler.
You want us to do that solve? How is my line still not straight?
Double check your measurements. Okay, so you'll end up with 6 columns. Ruler's brand new, it is straight.
That's why I'm confused.
Measure 3 spots, then line up your dots. So I measured at the bottom, middle, and top. Then I lined up my 3 dots and drew my line.
Okay. My dots are really long. That's 1 inch. That's 1 inch.
So it's 6 inches across.
Yes, it's 6 inches wide.
My line's still on straight. I literally made 1 line. It's not straight. My line's just straight, but not white. It's literally 1 inch on each side though. But it's not straight.
Did you start from the edge of the ruler, or did you start from that first line?
Yes,
The
I
measurements-
started from the first line. I'm not that stupid.
No.
Some people don't know that.
Hang on, let me.
Alright, and it's the same process on the long side. It's 9 inches, so how many dots are you going to have?
9.
9, because we're doing every 1 inch.
Does that look straight? Yes. When I draw it? No.
What if we can see our lines?
Draw a little bit darker, use a darker shade. You can also use a colored marker or a pen when you need to draw the lines. But I want you to make sure that the grid is correct before you make it permanent. Like you should be able to see the shiny part of the pencil. You should be able to see your line from this, like from the side, because graphite has a shine to it. So I'm measuring in 3 different spots every 1 inch. Then I line those dots up. And I can already tell my picture is just a little bit off from the measurements. Some of yours might be right at 9 inches. Some of them I might not have been able to get exactly 9, so it might be like 9.02. But I just got it as close to 9 as I could get it.
One of my lines is crooked, but it's fine.
Alright guys, we need to go ahead and clean up. We will finish gridding when we come in tomorrow. Please bring the rulers up here.